What's going on, New Era? It's good to see you guys back with another video for this week. We get ready to go into pretty much as they would say, the stretch, the 7 inning stretch or the 7 week stretch. So there's a lot of matchups that we're looking forward to. We're going to preview all those. We're also going to give you guys power rankings, and we have to welcome back our fearless leader, the commissioner, Mr. AC Slater. What's going on, fella? How you been, man?
I'm good, Vern. Glad to be back, man. In the words of Snoop Dogg, guess who's back in the mother house
House. There you go. What's
with a
up?
new newsletter for your however you want to make that right.
No doubt.
Anyway, great to be back, bro. I miss you. I actually miss Raph. We're gonna get the band back together. Just let me jump into some quick announcements. Ricky made a good offer, good suggestion, really good suggestion when we first started the league to have a recap every week. Now we haven't been able to do a recap, but given that after this week we'll be at the midpoint, or at least a midpoint that I guess we can all recognize after we played 7 games, got the home stretch, 6 left, to have sort of where we all get together, we all just break bread, sort of like a happy hour with the league. So I'm gonna be hitting everybody up individually and on the board. We want to do that this upcoming week. Just have everybody, all 10 of us, come break bread, the breeze, whatever we want to do for an hour or so, and get that on tape. Maybe we'll do that in lieu of a newsletter, but just something to have everybody come in and talk about their team and just fellowship with each other. So we want to do that this week. So just put that in on your mind, and we'll follow up. Next, this is going to be a shorter video. What we wanted to do originally was get Marvin in here and have the three of us do it. We're still going to do that, but just not this week. And I got to apologize to the league. It's been a hectic week for in court pretty much every day. And as you guys know, this was my last week at the prosecutor's office, and I'm moving on to the attorney general's office. So I really haven't had any time to get this video up and link up with Vern, and that's on me. So apologies for that. Now, again, this is going to be a shorter video, but we wanted to jump in. It's going to be me and Vern sort of doing the freestyle, playing off of each other. You already know we have a great vibe together, so we're just going to get this thing kicked off. So I pass it back to you, Vern.
No doubt, no doubt. Ghostface and Ray back in with another joint
Yep.
here. So we're gonna get right into the power rankings, man. We're gonna just get straight into it. I'm gonna give you the names and you're gonna tell me how you feel. If I got something I need to say, I'm gonna say it. So
Okay.
at number 10, it's me. it's me, my G. So yeah, man, my personal take on the team is like, man, just with all the injuries this year, this team has just been flailing. So just kind of looking at the other teams, I think the other teams have signs of life. Either they gotten players back that's healthy, or they kind of been able to kind of make some moves, whether it's through trades or waiver pickups, that I think is breathing in new life to their team. And it just seemed like everybody I'm picking up, or every guy that I'm looking forward to having come back, either gets re-injured or stays injured. So number 10, that's my team. Any takes on that?
You get the hallway pass of the season. We all understand what you're going through. You've had injuries. This is not about skill. This is not about management. None of that. There's nothing you can do to get around these injuries. So you're good. I mean, unfortunately, I guess the record stands, but I don't think the other 9 people are looking at you at all like you dropped the ball. There's just nothing you could have done with this team. I think you had a great draft. You did everything that a person could do. It's just the way that the ball bounces sometimes. Pass, man. You're in 10th place on the standings, but number 1 in our heart. Who's at 9?
Appreciate that. Appreciate that that love. All right, so we're gonna get straight into it. This is going to surprise a little, quite a few people, but we got Ricky at the number 9, two and a possible. So
Yeah, Ricky Bobby, man. Rick the Ruler, man. Freeway Ricky Rose. Look, Ricky is in the same boat. His team has sort of been decimated by injury, but he's fought the good fight. And I think that he's taken some L's in games where teams either just put the points up on him or they were close calls. We'll get to it later, but I think he may have a puncher's chance this week to get that record back at least close to being winning again. But I think Ricky has to take the 9, but only because their team's just getting healthy, like you said, and starting to get back in the race. Ricky has to sort of hit that ignition button and put the foot on the gas if he can. But it's not like he's a bad team at all.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ricky's team is definitely a team that, with a couple wins here or there, he can be right back in the thick of things. I think the main thing is not having Devontae Adams. That's really kind of, hamstrung his team. He got plenty of depth at the running back position. He's made a trade to even make that position even deeper. So I feel like Ricky team still has enough power to make a way into the playoffs. It's just a matter of just stringing those wins together. But for now, we got him at the number 9, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him shoot up next week.
Right.
All right. So that puts us back to the man with many, many flavors. I suggested that he change his ice cream, but hey, man, he gave me plenty of scoops last week. Brett, Mr. Baskin Dobbins, he's looking real flavorful right now. So what's your take on this team at the number 8?
Man, again, we don't. This is all for entertainment. We're just breaking down and diagnosing teams and giving our opinion. I think that Brett has taken that information and just, I'm going to give him the full credit. Just look within his team, look where he can make improvements. I didn't agree with all of the trades, but I think he made one trade too many, but that's whatever. Either way, he's getting hot and he's starting to put up points and he's starting to make a run. We grilled him about if he thought he could make the playoffs. We said no. He said no, or whatever he said. It should have been no. But as you start to stack one win at a time, 1 week at a time, you start to look up and say, hey, maybe I have a chance. So Brett is getting hot. He's made the right moves, and he's on the grind. So I think he's number 8, but he's number 8 and sort of rising, if you will.
Yeah, I think, the thing with Brett's team is I think from a long-term perspective, you look at Mahomes and you say, okay, this guy is definitely a keeper. And then you're kind of looking at the two Diggs and Cooper coming in, and you're like, I'm not really sure if they're a keeper. But for this season, just for this season, for what's going on, I think that it was a move that will give him the points that he needs. Now, all that being said, I mean, when Henry goes off for 40 points, I mean, you're not supposed to lose that week. That's just keeping it real. So, if if he's gonna go for 40 points, 35 points every week, you're getting that out of your one running back position, then hey, he can go on a tear. And you gotta give Diggs his credit. Diggs has pretty much shown up every single week for the Bills. So if he's continuing to do that, I think that this trade works out for him, at least for this season. Now, we could talk about next season when we get to next season, but for now, it looks like this could work out for him. All right, so that takes us to the number 7 spot. AC, don't look behind you. It's you. What happened?
Listen, man, we talked about this in the pre meeting. And I think that my team has not been respected. I think primarily by me, number one, and my outlook, and then it's trickled down to the league, where I think every week people look at my team and I look at my team like, yeah, whatever. But I think that I've been quietly competitive. The record is 2-4. I've taken some hard L's. I've lost some people in game on more than one occasion. That happens to all of us. But I've lost some critical people. I've had moves made in the real NFL world that have affected my team. However, I still come out there and put up points. And don't look now, but DeAndre Swift did have a good week last week. He was on the bench. And I don't think that this week will be a repeat of that, but at least I can say, okay, I have a recognizable flex at least, which I didn't have that the first 2 weeks. So I think I can string together some wins, and I can't say playoffs. I can't say I'll rise up the ranks, but I think I'll keep being competitive. So I think I'm rightfully at the number 7. But I think that, give my team some respect. Like LeBron said, I want my respect too.
Or in the words of of Baby, put some respect on your name, huh?
Yeah.
Are we finished or are we done?
Yeah.
You got the little goons in the back.
Right.
Hey, look, man, y'all not gonna keep putting dirt on my man's name. Put some respect. Don't look at that 2-4 record. Look at how he competing. He making waiver picks. You know, he's getting healthy. Swift is looking like he gonna be the guy. Look, put some respect on my man AC name. That's all he trying to say.
Yeah. I listen, I can't be in the playoffs and all that every year. You can't be last man standing every year. That's why we have a diverse league of great owners. But lost in these seasons sometimes is hey, a valiant effort. And I think that's what I'm doing. So I'm gonna hang my hat on that. I think I'm good at the number 7.
All right, no doubt, bro. You're gonna get your respect. RES ESPN.
Give it to me. You know what I'm saying? Give it to me,
Word,
man.
word to that. I hear you. Hey, look, in the number 6 spot, we got Romel. That's the dude that's always looking for his respect. But I think, considering again, just the turbulence that's been going on with Tampa Bay, Julio being out for the past couple weeks and now he's coming back. This kind of really is the perfect spot for Romel, considering the kind of season he's had. So it's been an up and down season. But he's been fighting, man. He's been fighting. He's right now, he's in the mix of things. He just needs one or two wins, just one or two shakes to get going. I think probably the most encouraging thing for Romel, besides obviously Julio Jones coming back, um, it's Deshaun Watson. To me, the way that the Texans are now playing, it's like, okay, Deshaun is back. He's going to be able to put up points that, quite frankly, I think Romel was expecting from game one. So if you have that back in place, and now you have a solid running back core, and you got Julio back, you can make some moves. And CD Lamb, to me, we kind of all felt like CD Lamb, fits this offense and he's going to make plays. So to me, I think he got a shot, man. I think he got a real shot. So at the number 6 spot, that's where I have him at. Any thoughts on it before we move on?
No, I think you covered the bases.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Romel, we see you, brother. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep grinding at
Go
it.
get that belt out the closet.
Huh?
Go- I said, go get that belt out the closet. Go
Yeah,
get the strap. Go get the strap.
yeah, yeah. Bring that belt back. You know what I'm saying? Strapping on over the neck, man. Let them know, like you ain't here. Papa don't take no mess. So
Word.
So yeah, man, hang in there at the number 6 spot. For the number 5 spot, this is going to be real interesting. But we have Gene at the number 5 spot.
I
So
think Gene he's in the crosshairs. And not so much of one individual team or all 9 teams. I just think he's in the crosshairs in general. He's taking some injuries, but he's also made some moves where or failed to make moves where I think this is going to be a reoccurring theme with Gene. I'm starting to really get into diagnosing his team again. And I don't know how you let Bernard sit on waivers and you got a gimpy Mixon. And it's like with Gene, I think ultimately he's an elite owner, but I also think these are things that he has to get to that ultimate tier, like a Marvin status. You have to stay in the loop, because you got to know, like, okay, Mixon is gimpy. I gotta have Bernard on my team somehow, some way. It's my team. I look at myself like the Bucky Showalter of like fantasy, where you always got to stay up on the moves, squeeze the waivers. Like you just got to stay on it. You got to constantly turn over your team because injuries happen, things happen where you got to be ready. And I think that him falling in the 5 spot is because of injuries. Again, he couldn't do anything about Kareem Hunt in the draft. But then, with the Joe Mixon thing and Jerm picks up Bernard, I mean, these are the moves that a win here, a loss close. So I think Gene is a very earned 5. I think that off of talent and his managerial skill, I think that he has compiled a great team. But I think that these are the pitfalls that one endures during the season if you're not always ready. You don't got to commit your life to it, but you gotta stay up on your players, at least your players. So
true that. Yeah.
Melvin Gordon goes out, you got to make sure you got like tabs
So
on his
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, I think that's an excellent point. Like, Gene is, no doubt a very solid owner, but like you said, you gotta always have tabs on your players to start off with. I mean, it's great you can have tabs on everybody, but at least with your team, like if you got running backs or whatever, you gotta have them on the watch list. You gotta know what's going on with your team. As soon as that DUI happens, you gotta be thinking like, hey, look, this might get a little shaky. Let me go ahead and pick up Phillip Lindsay, before the word gets out. You gotta be on top of that kind of stuff. And it's again, it's not a knock on his ownership, but it's more or less, as you said, it's just about moving into that next tier. That's something that me personally I had to learn as an owner. That was something where, through going through the finals with a guy like this guy, I had to learn the hard way, because a lot of times it would be these waiver moves that would be the difference between a championship and being the first place loser. So I think, considering that Gene has been in the championship before, and obviously he's trying to make his way back, it's these little moves right here that kind of make you a champion. It may not necessarily seem like it now because you're in week 6, week 7, but kind of having an eye on things and making sure you cross the T's, dot the I's, that's what ends up making a champion. So everything you said is true. That puts him at the number 5 spot. But again, I think these are things, as you said, that Gene's going to learn from. He's going to learn. He's going to adapt, just like we've seen other players in the league have adapt. Now, dudes is waking up at 3:35 in the morning because don't need to pat myself on the back, but you know what I'm saying? I was one of the first ones with it. But that eventually the league catches up, like, oh, wait a minute, how this happened? How you get this player, that player, this. Oh, you look at the time period, it's like, oh, this dude's waking up this early. Word. Okay, then I gotta get on it. So, the league adapts itself, and I think Gene is going to adapt. But that's enough on Gene. Keep doing your thing, make those moves. And if you can't make a move, make trades. And that's another thing I see with Gene is I see Gene sometimes he doesn't really make trades like that. And there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying, just do a deal just to simply do a deal, but you got to keep your team fresh. And so one of the ways is obviously the waiver wire, but if you can't do that, you can't jump on it right there, or you just miss it, you got to make moves. You got to make trades. So just stay relevant. That's really the key. All this stuff is really going to the point of keep your team relevant. So with that being said, we're going to move on to the number 4 spot. For the number 4 spot, speaking of trades, is the man that made the trade, Plunkett. What you got for me?
Plunkett. And let me just touch on something. I heard the podcast last week, and Plunkett, he kind of inferred an foul, but he inferred that because we were playing, that I may have vetoed the trade. And I gotta unequivocally say that is not true. So I'm casting nothing on Plunk. You all know that that's my guy. But I've never, in all of my years of competitive sport, protest or done anything because I'm playing the guy. I'm like, look, this is the move you're going to make. I may sound off on it, but hey, let's go. Win, lose, or draw. So I would never do that. You got to remember, I wear a hat as a team owner. They're two very distinct hats. And looking at that trade is all in history now. But as a team owner, I just felt like, hey, like more has to be done here. And that was my own subjective opinion. But it'll never be a thing like to run away from competition. Now that's out the way. I think that we all know that Plunkett, when he made that trade was going to do him some good, more good than hurt. And if you are the Plunk in that trade, happy with your overall product because you got a guy who's going to give you stability every week. And I think that he's riding that to the top. As I said before, Plunkett is the kind of guy who's going to make the moves that he needs to make to plug in all his holes. Now, he's a perfect example of what we just talked about. I said the Marvin tier, but I got to also give Plunk his credit too, because from day one, year one, whatever, he's always on the waivers. He's always doing this, always doing that, looking ahead. And this is the result of that. He's a perfect example this season. Start off coming out the gate in last place, but as the season progresses on, you see this man rising up the ranks, and that it could lead him to a title. You never know. Yeah. So I think that he's 4 and rising. I think, and it's very earned. He has a very good lineup, and he's deserving of that spot, and probably of even more as we move forward.
Yeah. How many championships does Plunkett have?
3.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that says it all. So, like we said, you kind of make those comparisons between Gene and Plunkett. It's about keeping your team relevant, and Plunkett is making moves to keep his team relevant. The details of how he does it, that can be debated. But the end result is that he keeps his team relevant, you know? So yeah, you know, so I think you said everything that needs to be said about Plunk. You know, got a lot of respect for Plunk as a team owner and just as a guy in himself. I know he's on it. All right, so at the number 3 spot is the gentleman Germ Joy, who just defeated Plunk. So how did that happen? Why is he at the number 3?
You asking me?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
asking you.
So Durham Joy is the definition right now of steady Eddie. He has his running backs in a position, and they're paying dividends for him. I think it's even more remarkable because, and I haven't studied his team like that, but you know, runner who has the tendency to be in and out of the lineup. You have Kimura, same thing, but it's all coming together for him. It's all working out. Miles Sanders, I know that he had to play he has to play this week without him. Last week he left the game. So even though Germ has the running backs, he's had to deal with internal issues with them, and he's still been able to put it all together. I personally think that Germ had the kind of draft that when we do our prognostications and predictions, would think one in that situation would have, where they come out, they get their wide receiver, they turn the corner, they get the other guys, and they fill out their team. I think he did everything based on if there was a playbook to follow, he followed the playbook, and he's reaping the benefits of that. And I think that his team is definitely rising to the top. He's a real competitor, and he did it right. Now, the only thing I would say is, again, backups, but he hasn't enough of a diversity of running backups. I mean, you got Connor, but no Snell. You Boston Scott was on waivers, so he's riding a good train right now. But if it gets to the point where these guys, as the weather, sort of downturns, if he starts to take some hits on his team, then you start to wonder where's his depth at, and that's the only thing that I would question. But overall, pretty solid team, definitely. At this point in the season, what you see is what you see with these teams, and I think this guy is a real competitor,
Yeah,
real challenge.
no doubt. I totally agree. I think that Germ is very opportunistic when it comes to the waivers. Not all the times that end up reaping to his personal benefit for the guys that he gets hurt with. So, Germ is, he's one of those guys where he's going to make moves that is going to keep him leveled, you know? So I think the main thing for him, and of course, all of this is for entertainment purposes, but the main thing for him is kind of like what you said about Gene and similar to him. It's like, keep an eye on your own team, you know? It's like you could be snaking someone else's team, Laquan Smith, you could be snaking somebody else, but keep an eye out for your own team. And I think if he does that, he just make that little minor tweak, he gonna be okay. But I mean, even regardless, I mean, it's all subjective, right? Because you look at his team and you say, okay, well, he's weak at wide receiver. So maybe Laquan Smith makes more of a better pick.
Traquan Smith. You're thinking Traquan.
Traquan. You know,
David's cousin is
when you're just a guy, sometimes your name get misspelled. My bad, brother. Wherever you are,
his
apologies.
name is his name. His name
Yeah,
is
apologies to you, Traquan. Apologies, my brother. But just saying, it's for his team. It makes sense that okay, this is a spot that might be struggling, even though in the grand scheme of things, Boston Scott may have been the better pick, just considering the nature of the running back position and the nature of the injury. Like, okay, if this dude is gone for a couple weeks, maybe I should invest here instead of investing in Traquan, who might give you 2-3 weeks at most, and then that's a done deal. So it's just one of those things. It's just it's half a dozen in one hand and six in the other. It's all the same, but just something to keep an eye out for. But I think his team, like you said, having lost his tight end from San Fran, remind me what his name is when you get
Kittle.
huh
Kittle.
Kittle, right? So he lost Kittle. He's lost, his running back and Miles Sanders for weeks. So the fact that this guy's 4-2 really says everything that needs to be said about his team. Like easily looking at the points for, he has the most points for. So easily from a performance standpoint, this guy could be number one. But right now we have him in the number 3 spot. He's going to have to face some of those top dogs to really prove it. And I think last week going against Plunk, who was reloaded, kind of showed like, okay, yeah, this team is here to stay.
Let's for 1 and 2 for time purposes. Let's analyze them. We feel how we feel.
Yeah, I like that. I like that because there was a lot of debate. So basically, the two teams left is Marv versus Rap, right? Which one should be number one? Which one should be number two? I'm gonna let you start off. Give your opinion on why you feel like one should be number one should be number two.
Okay. My thought is this: if you have an incumbent champ, then in order for that person to fall from that spot, maybe archaic, I don't know, but whatever. In order for them to fall from that spot, they have to be beat by the number 2 challenger. Or just in record, there's just no way that we can put them in that number 1 spot. Look at like college football. I mean, Alabama, whether they beat LSU 13-10, or even if, okay, the LSU, they may get more points that way, but if it's like, if they beat like Middle Tennessee State 20-10, they still haven't lost. They're still going to be ranked next week, I would believe. And I think that that's what's going on here. I think that Raf, he's the number 1 team. I mean, he has a 5-1 record. Marv has a 5-1 record. I think it's the perfect setup if they both keep going at this pace, where when they play each other, the winner of that, if it's Marvin, he takes over the number 1 spot. And if it's Raf, he stays in the number 1 spot. So in my mind, like, Raf would have to fall from be the number 1 guy. Whether he's squeaking by on these wins, whether the wins in the 130, whatever, he's still winning. He's still 5-1. He still sits at the table. The man won the chip last year, and he's not like 3-3. He's not 2-4. He's 5-1. So I would leave him in that number 1 spot. And if anything, if we just want to say 1A and 1B, I'll give you that. Marv can be 1B. I mean, he's earned the 5-1 record too. But Raf would have to be beat by Marvin. It's just like it would have to be beat by Marvin. And then I'll say Marvin is the number 1.
So in other words, in the words of Ric Flair, in order to be the man, you got to beat the man. Is that what you're trying to say, basically?
Exactly.
Well, I see. I'm more of Janet Jackson. What have you done for me lately? Kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? So it's not. Look, this is not no knock on Raph. I already beat him down. He got his butt kicking from me, so we good. But I'm saying in the overall grand scheme of things, this is how I see it. I see it as, okay, what are you doing this season, right? Because again, people looked at my team. They thought like, okay, this guy's going to be a top 3 team. He's going to be in the mix of things, and then things happen. You can't keep me at the same spot just off of reputation. What are you actually doing? So I look at Raz first 2 weeks. I mean, he come out. I mean, he ready. I mean, he's he's gunning them down. I mean, he's putting up points, major points. But then after those first 2 weeks, there's a lot of scores where it's like, man, you at the 130s, you playing just the right people, man, you getting these wins because this person really ain't putting up points like that. So if you beating a guy because he's scoring 111 or 114, it's like, yeah, that 5-1 looks good on paper, but really what's behind it? And I look at Marvin's team and I'm saying, okay, here's a team that, no, he's not blowing teams out. He's not scoring 160, 180, every week, but he's scoring a solid 150 every single week. And that's just good enough. Now, I'm not saying he can't take L's that way because sometimes teams get hot, right? So you're going to get a guy that score 150, 156. But normally if you stay at that 150 level, you can pretty much say, hey, you know what? My team is doing what they're supposed to do. So when I look at Raf's team and I'm seeing these scores of 133, 134, he take an L to me, it's just kind of like one of those things where it's like, yeah, I see you, I see you. You got that 5-1. You looking like, oh yeah, I'm going to repeat. But there's something there that, and I think Raf knows that, which is hence why he made the trade. I think he knew that, look, I can't keep putting up these 130s and just leave it as is. And that's probably what prompted him to make a trade, knowing Raf. So all that being said, it is what it is. 1A, 1B, 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. I mean, both of them are pretty much at the top at a 5-1 record. But that's my perspective on why I would put Marvin, aka the Capo, aka the Fresh Prince of Hell Air. That's why I would put him number one. But I think an argument can be made either way.
Well,
So
how about this? I'll do you one better. And I think we'll both agree on this one. If Marvin played rap today, who do you?
if Marvin played rap today, who I think will win? Oh man, that's a good one. That's a
We're
good
gonna
one.
agree. We're gonna agree. You just gotta come to your conclusion.
I would say Marvin.
Exactly. So Marvin has the better team today, but for power rankings, again, I'm just more along. And again, I'm going to say that more along the archaic sort of pillars of the institutional, where I would say in order for power ranking purposes, Raph would have to be beat or have a record that's not as good as Marvin's.
No doubt.
On the flip side, Marvin has a better team. It's just I'm just holding to the traditions for power ranking.
Yeah, no doubt. And also got to give, also, being unbiased, the fact that he's missing Christian McCaffrey, that does make a huge difference. I mean, there's no denying that. So you do got that part of it too. It's like, okay, well, when this dude comes back, what is Raph's team going to look like then? So, all right, I think that pretty much covers it, and that kind of lays us into the matchups. We're gonna fly right through this. We're gonna get right into it.
Vern, we're gonna have to because I gotta go. We got about 3 minutes. Jelly already texted me and everything.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, hey, look,
We can part two it if you want tonight when I get back to
hey,
give it its full like
yeah.
love.
All right, let's do that. Let's part two.
All right.
We already done set up the rankings. Let's come back. Let's part two that. We're not going to take long. We're going to get straight into the video. We're going to talk about these matchups. You know what these teams look like, and we're going to make it happen.
All right. Perfect.
All right. We'll catch y'all in the next video.
All right, brother.
All right.